Blog Talk Radio.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, squatchers of all ages, this is Squat Zone Radio.
Welcome to SQUATCH on Radio. I'm Daniel Benoit, your host, and Zach Sterick, my co-host. Thank you for that new little introduction, Zach. Well, let me throw a few things out there real quick. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a great show tonight. We got an awesome guest on here. This is his first time appearing on any radio show. So we're going to give Mr. Kevin Woods a warm welcome here very shortly. And he's already on the air on standby. Want to give everybody a heads up of what we got going on here. Coming up here in the short months, we got the month of April 21st in Harlan, Kentucky. We have the Harlan, Kentucky CryptoCon. That's right, a Harlan, Kentucky CryptoCon on April 21st. 110 River Street at the Extension Depot in Harlan, Kentucky. June 30th and July 1st, the ECBRO, the East Coast Bigfoot Researchers Organization, is holding their first annual ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference in Fishersville, Virginia at the Augusta Expo. June 30th and July 1st. You don't want to miss it. You want to plan on being there. And Zach, what do you got coming up, Zach?
A lot.
I know.
Let's go down the list here.
Yeah.
Let's go down the list here. I'm staying pretty busy and everything. Starting to pick up writing back on my biography, my book I've been writing for the past 6 months. Plan on getting back in the field tomorrow. Me and my team are going to be going to a nearby town that just down the road a ways, that back in 2012 that there was a report of a dog man that was reported at lurking around the outskirts of the town. And we're going down to a wildlife and fishing area to see if there's any kind of a suitable habitat for such a creature. Let's see. On the speaking stance, I will be at the ECBRO Virginia State Bigfoot Conference this year, June 30th and July 1st, as an MC for you. I do invite everybody to come on out for that. I've been reading up and learning more about the speakers and everything, and I'm learning new stuff every day about these folks. They're all good folks. They mean what they say. Come on out. Tickets are only $20 too. That's dirt cheap. It's affordable. And then October 19th, 20th, and the 21st, I will be in Kingsport, Tennessee, speaking at the Tennessee Bigfoot Conference. I will be speaking along with Matt Delph. Papa Stro Maestro, the former WCW wrestler, John Stamey, and the She-Squatchers will be there, and we'll be speaking for 2 days, and then they'll have a Crypticon those 2 days, and then they'll have a Comic-Con that last day. And I invite everybody to come on out. Tickets have to be pre-ordered, though. You can't sell them at the door. We have a meet and greet the night before everything kicks off, and then the last night we have a big old cocktail party. So I invite everybody to come out, have a drink with us, shake hands, sign autographs, take pictures. We'd be more than happy to. Let's see. And then with my personal event, I have got August 30th through September 3rd. If you go on BigFootPortal.com on their calendar for events, my third annual Bigfoot Campout is scheduled to happen on Labor Day weekend of this year. We're going to be camping out in the same area where me and my cousin Kyle held our first expedition back in 2016, in November 2016. Very squatchy area. I invite everybody to come out. It's free of charge. All you are is responsible for your equipment you bring, your tent, and your food. It's free of charge. Come on out.
Awesome. Well, many people are well aware that coming up at the ECBRO Virginia Bigfoot Conference, we have Bilko Productions that will be airing and doing a premiere of Cultured Bigfoot at our conference. Well, our conference just, the excitement with movie producers just got stepped up a notch. Movie producer Mr. Dallas Morgan of the movie called Sightings. He's actually been in recent contact with me regarding his new video. It's a 2017 release. And I've actually only seen the trailer of it. However, it looks very exciting. Mr. Dallas Morgan, right now at this point, is looking like he will be attending our event. And he will be also a future radio guest with us, along with a couple of the other actors that were a part of that movie. And, Zach, I don't know if you remember this. You might be a little young to remember. But do you remember the movie Hook with Robin Williams?
I grew up watching that movie. Of course I remember it.
Okay. Well, you remember the young man by the name of Rufio, the guy who played Rufio? Yep. Well, Dante Basco is his name, and he's one of the actors in the movie Sightings. And he may be joining us in the near future here with Mr. Dallas Morgan, the movie producer. So that's a little bit of excitement that we got to look forward to here. But I just wanted to throw that out there, share that out there that, anyone, if you have not checked it out, check out the movie Sightings. This movie here, it's not based off of reality, but at the same time, it's based off of, it could be somebody's reality. However, the movie was based off the theory of Bigfoot and UFOs, the connection between the two. Now, again, the movie was only based off of that theory. It wasn't made, they do not claim to be anything factual in that video, but it relates that along with, it throws that missing 411 element in there with the people coming up missing. It's just something you need to check out. If you have not done so, go to check that out. You can find that on Amazon. You can find it on Netflix. It's all available. So definitely check that out. Well, I'll tell you what, Zach, enough of my rambling. Are you ready to bring our guest on?
Bring him on. I want to hear this guy.
All right. Well, Mr. Kevin Woods, I want to welcome you to Squatch Zone Radio. It's awesome that you've agreed to do this with us. You are now live with us on air. How are you doing, Kevin?
Good, Daniel. Good. How you doing? How you doing, Zach? Can you hear me?
Well, I'm doing all right. I'm still breathing.
All right. Cool. All right. Yeah, like I said, Daniel, I've kept quiet for a while about this and everything, but you know what? This has to get out. And You want me to tell you a little about myself, or real quick, or?
Yeah, I tell you. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. If you want to give us a brief little, a bio about yourself, let the listeners know who they're listening to, and for the record,
Sure.
before you get started, I tell you what,
Yeah.
I've been down here in Virginia so long. By hearing you talk, you sound like I'm listening to my brother-in-law talk to me.
I noticed you were from Mass.
Yeah, yeah, I am. I was real young when I moved here to Virginia, but I guess my relatives up there tell me I sound like I got the Southern accent. I don't know. I mean, I've been down here since age 11.
Big time. I hear it, big time.
Oh my!
It's the environment.
Yeah, exactly. So, but of course, when I talk to my family and everything, you sound just like them. So.
Yeah, you never know. It was funny. My brother was just on the news lately, and when I heard him talk, I was like, "Wow, that's what we really sound like." Boston accent really came out.
Okay. Well, how about you take it away and share some information with us? Tell us
Sure.
a little bit about yourself, Kevin, if you don't mind.
All right, sure. Now, first of all, I'm the type of guy, I used to care what people think and everything. I don't care anymore. Anybody out there, no judgment. If you don't believe, you don't believe. If you do, you do. And that's how I am. I'm a straight out guy. I don't make things up. So I'm going to tell you one little thing happened to me and my son. I kept quiet all my life about this, and there's a reason why I'm telling you about this, and I've never mentioned this to my family either. For a long time since I was little, I used to think of things, and, it was whatever, and they would happen. And even it came down to, I'd think of somebody, and all of a sudden they're calling me, stuff like that. Chalked it up to coincidence. This went on for years and years. I'm still putting it in the back burner. All of a sudden, my kid comes up to me at 10 years old, very concerned, bright kid. And he said, "Dad, I got to talk to you. I'm afraid." I said, "What's going on, kid?" He goes, "When I think of things, they happen." And my mouth went to the floor because obviously I never spoke about this, and I thought it was, coincidence. Too many things have happened to say coincidence. There is no coincidence. Things happen for a reason. I explained to him quickly. Think of it as a gift, whatever. I think we all have it. Why it comes out in certain people more, I don't know. I talked to a medium. She said it's called an empath. I looked into it a little bit. But anyways, it has a little bit to do with I feel more than others. I can tell if I like you before you open your mouth. I feel, I don't know, bad energy, good energy, who's bad, whatever. I can't explain it. So anyways, I take him on a camping trip. This was last year. He's going to be going to college soon. We rent a cabin. And, he was kind of a skeptic about Bigfoot and cryptids, and I always loved him since I was a kid. And always believed in him, too. So we go up this small cabin on Moosehead Pond. Very dark there in the boonies. And there was a canoe there. So we went fishing and we're hanging out and everything, and we didn't realize how far down the river we went. And we realized there were no houses around. Whatever, so we're having a good time, catching bass, and we're in this little cove area. We were probably about 10 feet from shore. Honest to God, we start hearing rocks hitting against rocks 4 or 5 times each. So I noticed my son stop paddling, and then I stopped, and he went quiet. And right when I told him, "Listen, Tyler, do not think and he cut me straight out, and he goes, "Dad, I'm thinking the same thing." Now, mind you, this happened like 3 times in a row. The rocks would hit 4 to 5 times each, stop for a couple minutes, start back up. We pulled that canoe over, got out of the canoe so fast, ran about 40 yards in, a lot of leaves, believe me, we weren't going to sneak up on anything. So we stopped. We listened. We heard the rock clacking again, and it seemed to go a little further away. So every time we took about 20, 30 steps and stopped, that's when the rock clacking would start. Every time we started to move, it would stop. So now he's looking at me, I'm looking at him, and I'm like, I'm with my kid. I don't know if I should go further. And we realized, like I said, there was no houses around. We were in the boonies, total forest. And then we come to a clearing, and we notice structures. Now, I'm going to explain why we didn't take any pictures. It happened so fast, our phones were in the tackle box because, God forbid, we dropped it in the water while fishing. So we hopped out without, thinking. So there were structures there, too. It happened 2 more times, 4 to 5 times each, and then it stopped. And we stood there for a while, and we were listening. And I said, you know what? I just had this bad feeling. I had a bad feeling, and I'm with my kid. If I was by myself, I probably would have went further because I'm an idiot. And so I said, why don't we back off? And he said that was a good idea. We started backing off. Around the structures, there were dead wood, giant logs laying there. And I happened to notice there was a pile of nuts that were already broken. And it was a nice, neat pile that went up to, it looked like a little pyramid. Yes, I thought of squirrels, chipmunks. I'm not saying it was Bigfoot. It was just strange, especially with a few of the X structures around. So we backed off. The clacking never happened again. And, we ended up leaving. And to this day, my son is definitely a believer. He definitely believes in Bigfoot. We know it was Bigfoot. We just had the feeling there was nobody around. At first, when it started, we thought there was a house there and somebody was doing work on the yard and doing something. And then when we realized we were in the middle of nowhere, we were like, where is this coming from? And that's why we went into the woods and investigated that. So I wanted to share that little story. We didn't see anything, nothing like that. But, it was nice to share with my son, and
oh, yeah.
He's a true believer now, he had that feeling too, I mean, what else is clacking rocks in the middle of the woods? There was nothing there. There was no one around, Daniel. So, I mean, it was a nice experience. It was. So,
yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead, Daniel. Yeah,
I was just going to say, we know.
Story. It was a nice experience with my son, you know what I mean? And to share something with him like that, because a lot of people don't believe in this, and this is real. We all know this is real,
Oh, yeah.
These things do exist. There's no doubt in my mind.
Absolutely.
There's many of us that have been helping each other out. And I'll tell you right now, there's more to it than people think, and it goes very deep. And that's a totally another subject, which I'd love to talk to you off the air about. And you might want to make that into a show. All right? Because there's a lot more.
Now, this little incident, this story that you shared that you experienced with your son, now, did this part here happen up in Mass or now down in Kentucky?
In Maine, Moosehead Pond.
In Maine.
It's about 40 minutes. Yes, it's 40 minutes over the New Hampshire state line.
There's a lot of reports come from up that way, too.
A lot. And there's also, now, some people get it confused, too. There's a Moosehead Pond, right? But there's also a Moosehead Lake. That's like 8 hours away from Mass. Moosehead Pond is about 3 hours.
Okay. Very awesome.
But there's many, like you said, there's many encounters up there.
Now, have you ever, well, let me ask you something. Now, one thing as far as, I always like to ask everybody's opinion. When you hear rock clacks, what do you think or believe that might be? Some type of communication, perhaps?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay.
I believe myself, I'm not going to say it's for sure because I'm not going to be cocky about it, but I believe, yes, it's communication. Just like when they hit the sticks against the trees, the knocking.
Yeah.
Total
Awesome.
communication. And these structures, what I believe, my theory is, and a lot of others too, it's not just me, and maybe it's yours too, I believe it's to help others find their way to certain areas and also warnings.
Yeah.
Like,
this
is our area, stay off.
Yeah. That's one thing I personally feel about the tree knocks. I believe they're like a location signal. Also
Absolutely.
a warning.
Almost like a wolf howling, trying to get to find the pack.
Yes.
And maybe maybe their own language, Daniel. It could be their own language. Like, they could be farther away. They could be warning each other. They could be telling each other stuff by certain knocks. I mean, we don't know. It's definitely a communication thing.
Oh yeah. You know what? You just made me think about something, and it's funny you brought up wolves. I never thought of it this way, but
I've been into wolves big time. Yeah.
Yeah, the communication between wolves, the way a solo wolf will howl, just like a coyote. So a lot of times you'll hear a single coyote, and then eventually you'll hear the rest of the pack go off and get crazy with it.
Exactly.
It's the same thing. Same thing in the primate world.
They howl,
have a group,
and they knock.
Yeah.
They have tools.
They'll scream. Yep. You'll have all the hunting group. The hunting group will be out, and you'll have that one basically sitting at base camp. The one at base camp will give off a scream or a screech or some noise to communicate, to locate the other ones. And it's funny how a lot of animals do that.
I forgot the word I'm thinking of, but it's like a lookout too.
Yeah.
They have like the chimpanzees. They have lookouts and everything, and they warn each other. Even Bigfoots. Hey, Bigfoots have been on tape, recorded yelling. I think they have many different types of communication.
I agree. I do agree. So.
Definitely. Well, this is what led me into Dogman. Now, I've always loved wolves, like I told you, and I've always been involved, like, werewolves. I've seen every werewolf movie, and I just, for some reason, I just wish when I was young they were real. I was so big into them, right? So one day, I'm investigating Bigfoot. I'm going through videos, and all of a sudden I see this Dogman thing. And I'm like, what's this Dogman thing about? It was Vic Cundiff, right?
Yeah.
So very good. I mean, people got to listen to it. Really good encounters. He checks these people out left and right first before he interviews them. You know what I mean? And there's been lawyers, doctors, police officers. I mean, everything. So this is how I got into Dogman. And I believe, this is my belief, is like truth. Truth goes to legend, and legend is truth. All this stuff that people think is made up over the years, these stories, they're real. People didn't just think of things years ago. They explained it how they saw it, and that's it. And then they just turned into legend. That's what I believe. There's a lot we don't know that's out there. I truly do. So I'll get on the subject of the LBL. The LBL, there's many people that know about it, and there's many people that don't. The LBL, Land Between the Lakes in Kentucky. Quick review of it. It was settlers there that were kicked out by the military, and the military took over and put a base there. And they were literally kicked out of their homes. So there's some campgrounds up there you can go camping too. So back in the 70s, this was a huge cover-up. This is very real, people. I'll tell you right now, it's very real. It never hit the news because of the cover-up. A gentleman did find a very small news clipping from that town about the murders. That's as far as it went. This is going up to federal. All right? This is why ranges are federal, because I believe these national parks are not protecting wildlife. They're protecting something else. There's something more to these national parks, and that's where the 411 missing comes in and all the other stuff. It's all connected. So anyways, so we get it, I get into the dog man, and I'm like, I'm sick of watching videos, I'm like, I want boots on the ground. That's what type of guy I am. I must have watched about 300 encounters, stuff like that. Got a good idea about what was going on. So I grab a buddy. And before that, I wanted to join a group. So I joined a certain group, will be unnamed, and they wanted me to sign a release form. Anything I found goes right to them, which I didn't like, and I did not sign. But they put me in charge of New England for a rep. So if there was any sightings, people would report to me. I was closer, and I'd go interview the witnesses. Anyways, they did something like you did. They were having a gathering at the LBL for a weekend for an investigation. So I told the co-founder, I'll go there a day before, get settled with my buddy, because we just wanted to get up there. It was a 20-hour drive. So, we were in a brand new truck. We're all gung-ho, 20 hours going there, and we're in the middle of nowhere. Mind you, the co-founder talked to these people, the rangers, the main office, 5 times. They knew we were coming, okay? So just remember that. They knew we were coming. So we finally hit the LBL. And I'll tell you right now, I've heard encounters, witnesses saying once they hit the LBL, they feel something. Like, I'm telling you, you feel dread. It's really airy there. When you're going down the long road to the certain camp we were going to, cover the sky. So you're going through a tunnel. So it's dark in there. There's a lot of deer there. My buddy, he said, whoa, stop, real quick. A whole herd of deer is running across the road, which was kind of strange, and I didn't think of it at the time. We were so exhausted, we just wanted to get to the campground. We were done. So we get into the campground, and we're looking around. There's no signs. There's about 5 campers there, SUVs, and we see a sign, see the groundskeeper. So we go to his trailer. Now, he's got a screen door. Now, I've worked with dogs quite a bit in my life, and I'll tell you right now, couldn't see through the screen, but this guy had 2 enormous dogs in his camper. So he comes out. Now, there's no signal up there. So my buddy goes up to the bathrooms up on a hill. He's talking to his girlfriend. So I'm stuck with this guy, and I'm telling you, this guy, I talk to anybody and everybody on the street. I'm never uncomfortable. I'll talk to any stranger. I start talking to him. Now I'm uncomfortable. I tell him who I am, who I'm from. He's supposed to have the sites already. They already sent a picture from satellite where the sites were. It was probably about 50 yards long, and it was surrounded by forest. And it had a boat ramp right at the water. You couldn't mistake it. So I tell the guy right away who we're from. Oh, no, Dogman. Well, I don't know anything about a Dogman and all this crap, right? So now I'm like, oh, man, here it goes, right? So now I'm standing here. I'm like, listen, we just drove 20 hours from Mass. And you guys know, or the Rangers know, we're coming. And they were going to have maps for us, so we knew where we were going, the whole thing, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I don't know anything. So I call up the co-founder, and I give him the phone. And it was a bad signal, so the guy goes in his camper and uses a ground line, calls him. Talks to him, comes out, yeah, I talked to him. I don't know anything about this. I'm going to have to call my boss, blah, blah, which was the Ranger. So he goes in and, this guy was so arrogant. He was about 60 years old, and he just had this shit-eating grin and this look and a smirk on his face, and I knew he knew what we were talking about. So he comes back out. My boss will be here in 3 minutes. He's in charge of the entire place. All right. So we're waiting, and he's just kind of squinty eyeing, staring at me. Never said a word to me. I'm uncomfortable. Never felt like this before in my life. Dead silence, and this pickup truck comes up doing like 40 and skids out. Gets out of the truck quick, walks up to me. I'm like, I'm crapping my pants. I don't know what's going on. I was like, why is this guy in a hurry? And he comes on with this mean-looking face, and he's probably about 5'11". I'm 6'2", but I'm intimidated by this guy, and I'm never intimidated. So he comes up, and he's like, what's going on? Straight out like that. And I'm like, hey, listen, I'm from, this certain organization. We look for Dogman, investigating Bigfoot, blah, 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 the whole thing. And what are you talking about, Dogman? And I'm like, Dogman. And he gave me a look. And I knew he knew what I was talking about. He goes, I don't know nothing about you guys coming here. So I went, look, you guys know we're coming. We've already talked to you 5 times. And here's the picture of the sites. Mind you, let me back up. The groundskeeper said he had no sites left. Now I'm standing there saying, what are we going to do? We just drove 20 hours. And he's telling me no sites are left after they were supposed to be saved for us. So I show him the picture by satellite. And he turns to me, I don't know where that is. This is the campground he's at. So now I'm pissed. But I still shut up because I don't want to be kicked out. I just drove 20 hours. So back to the ranger. So the ranger's like, I talked to him on the phone, the groundskeeper, and, oh, no, I thought you were talking about guys coming with dogs and hunting and this and that. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? I was like, we're here investigating. I just came 20 hours, and my team's coming tomorrow. There was supposed to be 30 people showing up. It went down to 12. Co-founder told me that everybody was so afraid that they said, forget it, we're not going. That's how this place is. People are so afraid they don't want to go there. I've heard a few guys say, I go hunting there all the time. You know what? They're nuts. They might not have been seeing anything or anything like that, but I'll tell you, I wouldn't go by myself there. It's bad enough just with 2 people. You know what I mean? So the ranger is staring at me, and he knows I came 20 hours. And my buddy still keeps me by myself, and now the groundskeeper's behind me, the ranger's in front of me, and I said I already showed him where the sites were, and he's like, we don't know where that is. I'm like, are you kidding me? Now he knows I'm not going anywhere, and I'm like, listen, we're not showing up with guns. We were told not to bring guns. We have nothing. We're just here to investigate. So finally he knew, he had to do something in a way to make it look good. And he's like, all right, listen, you have every right to be here. But now, mind you, I didn't tell him about maps. I told the groundskeeper about maps. He said, in the morning, I'll bring you some maps, and I'll have the roads marked down that you can't go on because I'm afraid you'll be ticketed by officers. First of all, Daniel, there was not one do not enter sign anywhere on those roads. And I've never heard anybody say they weren't allowed down any of those roads, okay? So that guy was literally going to mark down roads in areas he did not want me going, straight out, okay? So when I told him, and he goes, what's Dogman? And I'm like, come on, Bigfoot and Dogman. And then it was total silence. And this guy gave me the worst stare. And you ever been around somebody and it was this awkward silence going on and you don't know what to say? This guy stared at me like, dude, don't even get involved in it. Don't talk to me about it. I'm not. That's the type of stare he gave me, and he did not stop staring. So I got nervous, and I looked behind me, and there's the groundskeeper staring at me with the squinty eyes, with the smirk on his face. Now I'm standing there going, what do I do? What do I say? This guy, he did not want to touch the subject. Nothing. He didn't want to hear it. So he goes, listen, You have every right to be here. Are you doing night investigations? I'm like, yep. He goes, well, we've covered up. Oh, because I mentioned the settlers that used to be here. And he goes, oh, yeah, well, we covered up a few wells, but you never know if you're going to fall in one, if there's something missed. And I knew it was like intimidation. I knew he was trying to scare me, stuff like that. You could just tell the way he was talking, the whole thing, right? Then the groundskeeper turns around and says, oh, man, if I take you down to those sites. Now, mind you, he said he didn't know where it was, and he had no sites left. Now he turned around because the ranger said it was okay for us to stay. Now he has sites, and he knows where it is. So before he took us down to the road, he said, I don't know, man, this gets flooded. You might not be able to go home. Stuff like that. So it was more intimidation than anything. They were trying to scare us. Whatever. So the ranger comes up, he shakes my hand, and he was like, all right, I'll be back in the morning with those maps. Don't go anywhere until I give you those maps where the streets are marked off. So I was nice about it. Of course, I'm not going to mess with the ranger. I shook his hand, nice as pie. I was like, yeah, thanks for your hospitality. You know what I mean? I might appreciate it, whatever. And he leaves. So the groundskeeper, we follow him up, and it was probably a good half a mile. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, the co-founder told me before this even happened, before we left the trip, they told them on the phone they wanted them 22 miles put us. And the co-founder said, no way in hell, because if anybody gets hurt, or falls, broken leg, it's going to take like 2 hours to get out of there. He goes, you're not putting us in the middle of nowhere. We're going on a campground. So they agreed to that. So the groundskeeper takes us to the area, and the area is the exact as the picture. And he said he had no idea where it was, and he didn't know what it was. And I looked at right when we pulled in and we got out of the truck, he had all the sites with these metal poles with tape. They taped them almost like police tape, like they were taken. And all of a sudden he took them all down. And he come up to me and whispered. This really got to me. First of all, we looked at each other like, are you serious? We showed him the picture. This is the place. And he told us he had no idea where it was. Right? So, everything, bombs are going off in our heads. I'm like, oh, man. So then he turns to me, and it was the weirdest thing. He came up right to my ear and whispered, you guys aren't coming in with trucks with your name on it, are you? And I'm like, no, we're not disrespectful. We don't want to scare anybody. And I'm like, and Joel, my buddy Joel, just looked at me like, are you kidding me? Like, they just make a show in front of us. I'm like, yeah. So when he left, we were talking. I told Joel, I said, dude, they were trying to scare us. They didn't want us here. And then I find out, we had a kind of a good signal over in that area. I call up the co-founder, and the co-founder never told me that a year before, they paid up front for sites, and the main office called them back and said, we don't want you here, and sent back their money.
Yeah, from what I'm gathering, it sounds like they're definitely trying to cover something up. I mean, they're trying to be discreet about it. Yeah, I mean, I know that. I know
I've never been so uncomfortable in my life, Daniel. Never.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, they're putting that awkward moment on you, and they're the ones. Here they are trying to play dumb.
Yes.
I mean, they're making it. They're making it pretty obvious. Without they're basically telling on themselves. Yeah, I mean,
right. I'm like, I'm not an idiot,
Oh yeah.
So there's more to this. So now we go down to the beach, and the guy disappears, thank God. And we're down at the beach, and it's really strange there. Like, there's no sand. The water was down about 20, 30 feet. right? And all there is these strange rocks. Now, my buddy knows all about fossils and ancient artifacts and old-fashioned stuff, and he digs up things and old war stuff, so he knows. And right away, Joel looks down, and I forgot what kind of rock he said it was, and it was all over the place. He started picking up fossils left and right. And one was this giant, I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot molar or nothing like that, but it was a giant tooth. It was a big molar. I don't know if it was from a fish, dinosaur, whatever it was, but he was picking, within 2 feet, he picked up like 5 fossils. And he could have been there all day, all week, picking them up. So I don't know what went on there. I don't know what it was, but it was all fossils. And Betty even found one fossil that was a plant embedded in the rock. It was pretty messed up. It was pretty interesting. So he's down there doing his fossil thing, and yeah, it was pretty cool. You know, we were like, oh, you know, but the weird thing about it is now we're surrounded by forest in this opening. We're the only ones there. You do get the feeling that something's watching you. You do. It's very eerie there. You have to be there to feel it, and you'll know what I'm talking about. So
I've been in areas like that.
Now, yeah, you know what I mean. It's just very strange. It's like somebody staring at you. You're being watched the whole time, and the air gets heavy, and I don't know, dread comes over. I don't know what it is. So after the guy disappeared, about 15 minutes later, there's 2 military choppers overhead, right over us, going right over us. Now, Joel knows a little more about the military than me, and he said, you know, we look up and we're like, wow, they're pretty low, and wow, they're right over us too, right? And he's like, there should be another one, because when there's 2, there's always one in the back, I guess, you know, keeping them cover or something like that. It's the type of formation, I guess. And, yep, there comes the other one. So there's 3 choppers. They weren't Blackhawks. They were green, but they were military. So turn around for a second. Now there's land probably, I'm going to say, 300-400 yards across the water where we were. You look away, you look back up, the choppers are gone. And I'm like, Joel, where'd the choppers go? And he's like, dude, I don't even know. So there's got to be the base over there somewhere. Wherever they went, I have no idea. But it was like you looked away, looked back, and they're gone. I don't know what happened to them. About 2 minutes later, I don't know what you call them, those giant cargo military choppers.
Oh, okay.
That goes over us. The real big ones, you know, they can put tanks in, stuff like that. There was a certain name for them. I forgot the name. And so that comes right over us, which was strange. And I'm like, oh, what the heck is going on here? You know, we're having a bad time with the ranger, the groundskeeper. Now we got military coming over. I'm not saying it was because of us. I'm just saying something's up, because I know there's a military base around here somewhere.
Right.
So anyways, he goes back down to the water after we set up the tent and all that. I start a fire. I'm exhausted. So I go in the tent and I lay down, and he's sitting at the fire, and he's trying to stoke it, and everything was a little wet, blah, 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 right? And Daniel, I swear this happened. I don't know where it came from. I'm in the tent, and there was a crack of thunder and lightning. I look out real quick, and I'm like, all right, this will be cool. I'm exhausted. It'll be nice to go to sleep through a thunderstorm, right? I look over, there's one small black cloud over us. That's it. Nowhere else, right? I go back in the tent. Within 1 minute, I don't know what you call this weather, but this tent was being hit by three different ways by the wind. So heavy that this is a giant tent. The bottom came up to the fact that I was trapped in the tent for about 10, 15 minutes. Joel's trying to get me out. The wind was so strong, I can't even explain it. And finally, you know, I'm trying to find my boots in the dark, my phone, everything, while we're being hit. It was like a small hurricane. Finally, long story short, he finds the opening that was way up in the air. That's why I couldn't find it. I get out, it was so bad that he said when I was in the tent, the trees were half bent. That's how bad it was, right? So we jumped in. We said, forget everything. We jumped in the truck, and we had to park the truck on the tent so it wouldn't go anywhere. Campsite was toast. It was gone, and it ended in 2 minutes after that.
Wow.
So you're talking 7 minutes, and it was done. It was over with.
Talk about disappointment.
So now we're sitting in the truck. Totally. I was just like, are you kidding me? Like, what is going on? Like, bad luck. Talk about bad luck. So we slept in the truck overnight, woke up about 4 in the morning. This place, when they say even with the moon, it's pitch black, you can't see past your window. You can't see anything. It's pretty airy. And before we even left, I told some people we were going, and my phone got blown up. They were saying we were nuts going, the whole thing, and many said we were nuts going. So about 6 o'clock, we throw it in the back. This is a washout. I call off the team. So they were going to reschedule. Who comes creeping by at 6:30 in his white pickup truck? The groundskeeper with a big, giant grin on his face with his squinty eyes, and he pulls up next to us while we're sitting in the truck, and we were about to leave like in 10 minutes, and he just stares at us and doesn't say anything. And then and it's all quiet, and I just kind of looked at him. I went, campsite's toast. We're leaving. I called the team off. And he just kind of gave me a smirk, and he goes, so, nobody showing up today? And I went, no, nobody. Huh. And he shook his head up and down, and I went, yeah, thanks for your hospitality. And I freaking took off, and we took off out of there. We were so pissed off. There was strange things that are going on, huge cover-ups. And some people know about these murders years ago. Others never heard of it.
Right.
Now, you want to hear about them?
Yeah. Real quick before you go on, I know Zach wanted to jump in there. I think he had some questions of things he wanted to share. Go ahead, Zach.
Shoot.
Well, I've known about LBL now for the past 2 years, and I want to tell you the first mistake you made was opening up and saying, we're here looking for the dog, for the what I call the Kentucky werewolf, the dog man. You made a big mistake there because I was talking.
You're absolutely right, Zach. I'm sorry to cut you off, but good point, because I'll tell you right now, the co-founder even said it afterwards. He said, next time, we're not telling them that we're coming. You're right, Zach. Go ahead.
Because I was talking to the head of the North American Dogman Project head leader, Jody Cook, and I contacted him for information on LBL, and he talked to me personally on the phone, and he said, whenever you go down there, keep your mouth shut. Don't tell nobody, because they'll call the Rangers on you, and they're going to troll you the whole damn time.
All right, Zach.
And they're going to tell you where not to go, and they're going to ban you from going to them places, and they're going to basically run you out of town. They're going to keep you on permanent watch.
Yeah.
I was affiliated with North American Dogman Project.
Yeah,
that's the team I was with.
Yeah.
That's the team I was with, Jody Cook.
Yeah. And
the NADP. And you're right.
Yeah.
Jody said the same. Yep, Zach's exactly right. They'll run you out of there. So,
and not only that, it's gotten to the point where the officials of LBL, they're watching all kinds of social media now for any mentions of any kind of expeditions going into LBL, so that way they can keep an eye out for those people so they can run them off, because there's something getting covered up down there.
Some of my videos have been deleted, and for a while they weren't letting me post, and it would only stay on my page, but it wouldn't go to the news feed page out to friends. And I'll tell you right now, I was Daniel hit a nerve when he was talking about, Daniel, when you were talking about those skulls. I'll tell you right now, Facebook.
Yeah.
Remember the skulls, those weird. All right, I know a lot about those. I won't get into it, but I'd love to talk to you off the air about them. But and I'll tell you straight out, and this really happens, people. Facebook will send out fake profiles, and they will try to debunk you. They will talk crap about you right in the comment section. And if you go to the profile and there's no post on the profile or only one or two posts and that's it, it's a fake profile from Facebook, and anything they don't want you getting near, if I said, oh, those are aliens and I know all about it or anything like that, they'll pop in and say, oh, you're full of crap, and then they don't exist. They try to debunk anything, any topic they don't want you near.
Mm.
And it happened to Daniel because I've seen the same name pop up on me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of people know there's been a lot of crazy stuff that's happened with me, with my Facebook, and a lot of my posts were getting reported, marked as spam, and I was going through all the trouble. I kept getting put in Facebook jail for like 3 weeks in a row, and then even after that, I was still getting stuff.
Followers. That's right, Daniel, because you're big time into it. You get I checked you out. You get around, and you have followers. So people with a lot of followers, they're going to hit hard, big time. But they are hitting the smaller people too, but more so the ones with a lot of followers that have channels and, Facebook pages and all this other stuff. And they have many followers, and they do these interviews.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy though, but I'm not going to throw no names out there, but there are two individuals who I've actually, one threw a red flag up for me. The other one pretty much told on himself, which I've had issues with him in the past. And I, it dawned on me. I said, and it makes more sense. Ever since I blocked them on Facebook, I have not had not one issue.
There you go. You go.
So I mean, it took me a while to figure it out. But like I said, after paying attention and observing, and when the red flags went up, I was like, you know what? Screw these guys. I mean, because
they're sneaky.
For one thing,
they're sneaky because it happens to all of us.
Yeah, and the biggest thing on Facebook,
your guard's not up yet, right? So you don't realize it. And you're getting followers and you're accepting and all this, and then you realize somebody's out to sabotage you, and then, like you said, the red flags pop up.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like there's competition. I don't know what people got to make competition out of Bigfoot. It's no sense in it.
Yeah, and I don't see. I'm against it. Now. I'm not affiliated with anybody anymore because I'll tell you right now, I have nothing against people going out and investigating with a bunch of buddies. And if they want to name their group, that's cool. Absolutely. Name your group. But you know what? When you start bad-mouthing other groups because what it is they're out for fame and fortune. Straight out.
Yeah.
They want to make everybody else look bad, so they, get the attention and the most followers, and hopefully, and I'll tell you right now, certain groups, they want you to sign something because they want to be the ones that come out with the true evidence. And I'll tell you right now, there's plenty of evidence out there anyways. And you know what? If you're going to go out and investigate and check out the structures and all that, that is cool. I mean, it's great to see. But you know what? For the ones that are out there that I'm like, hey, I'm going to go bag a Bigfoot. I'm going to, and finish this and show people. And you know what? I'll tell you right now, it's nothing to mess with. Nothing. People do not understand these things. You stay away from them. It's okay to investigate, but don't get too close.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I have a lot of respect for people going out there and doing their job and boots on the ground and giving us all this evidence. I've been out there, Just be careful out there. But the ones that are all gung-ho and I'm going to kill Bigfoot and I'm going to kill this, you know what? You're going to die, dude. That's all I'm going to say. I mean, there's no need for it. Unless you're in trouble, and you happen to encounter one of these things and you have to then you got to do what you got to do, which nothing's really going to help you anyways. You know what I mean? You might as well off yourself before they get to you. But people have to, people have to have an open mind because these things are real, and there's a lot more to this world that they don't know about. And you have to keep an open mind. When people are kept in a box, that's some it's just ignorance. Other, it's just, I don't
Ego.
judge them. I understand they're in a box, and they weren't taught these things exist. So you're going to believe whatever you're taught,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, but there is a lot of ignorance that people like, you're just nuts. They don't look at any evidence. They just call you nuts.
Yeah,
I deal with that all the time.
I think we all do.
Time, Yeah,
mainly from
big
my
time.
grandparents.
Oh, believe me, some of my family thinks I'm nuts because of it. No, I'm totally sane. And my kid is a very intelligent kid, and he knows his dad's sane.
Yeah.
I tell it how it is. I mean, with the murders, it's a very sad story if you want me to tell you a little about it for some people that don't know about it.
Yeah, I think our biggest critics that we catch a lot of ridicule from is our own family. However, I do got to say a majority of my family, they're pretty cool about it. My oldest sister, I have two older sisters. The oldest out of the two, she's complete opposite of the other sister. Because my sister Melanie, they both live up in Rhode Island. My sister Melanie, she's a firm believer in it, and she gets excited if she goes out on a hike with one of her girlfriends and she finds these tracks. She's always posting pictures. Daniel, look at what I found. I was like, oh, cool. Yeah,
right.
So. And they go up, are you familiar with the Douglas Reservoir? Not Douglas Reservoir, Wallam Lake Terrace?
No.
Oh, okay. It's over in Douglas, Mass. That's where I'm from, East Douglas, Mass. Yeah, not far from Worcester. But, so yeah, Melanie, my sister Melanie, she's the believer. My sister Melissa, she's the one I catch a lot of crap from. I just ignore it. She thinks it's all a big joke.
Yeah,
it's
and
all
that's
good.
all you can do is, like, my brother's like that. My brother thinks I'm a fruitcake, thinking that, there's cryptids out there, and he wants nothing to do with it, and he says I need help. I'm just like, dude, you don't understand. Like, he's never even looked at evidence or anything. He just calls you out like you're a nut, and that's the ignorance I'm talking about. When somebody fully comes out and says you're nuts without looking at any evidence, that's just plain out ignorance.
Yeah.
I just, but like you said, you just got to kind of shoo it off and forget about it because you expect it, But one of these days, they're going to have a rude awakening. Let's put it that way. One of these days, it's all going to come out.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
But, I mean, with the murders with the LBL, right? I actually wanted to say that first before I told you about my encounter with the Ranger and everything. I was talking about the little ad that was in the newspaper in that town. There was a family of 4 in a camper, and I guess they were pretty deep in there. And I don't know if it was off season or not, but they were the only ones there. And long story short, they were found. I don't know if it was found by the Rangers or somebody else or a hunter, something like that. 3 bodies were in the camper. And I guess the dad was like pretty much ripped to pieces. I mean, they were ripped to pieces straight out. And they noticed a little dress in the camper, so they knew they had a little girl. But the little girl was nowhere to be found. So they started searching, and I guess one of the Rangers or state police, whoever it was standing. I don't know how far it was from the camper. Was standing there, and blood was dripping onto his face or hat. And he looked up, and the little girl was literally found and up in the tree, 30 feet up in the tree, and half eaten. So yes, this is a very sad story. It was covered up, and there's a gentleman that was on YouTube. He's very good friends with one of the officers who's retired now that was on the scene of the murders. He was there, and he took this gentleman, his buddy, to the tree that the little girl was in. A few years later, I think it was like 4 years later, something like that, a hunter told his wife he was going away, hunting for the weekend at the LBL. He'll be back Monday. If she didn't hear from him on Monday, call the police, obviously. So he goes there, never shows up Monday. She never hears from him. So she calls the Rangers, and the Ranger remembered, yes, I know his truck. I've seen him. I know where his campsite is. They went there, and the Ranger went alone first. Now, mind you, I'm sure he already knows about the other murders a few years back. Finds the tent ripped to shreds. The campsite was a total mess. So now he's like, this isn't good. He gets a search party right away. He doesn't go any further alone. They find, basically, long story short, they find the hunter up in a tree half-eaten. So they said the marks on these people were large claw-like marks. And it wasn't a bear, wasn't a cougar. It was unknown. And that's all they said about it. And it was covered up. It was never in the mainstream news, nothing like that. It was just a very small article in that town. And they covered that right up, Daniel, right up. So there's a giant cover-up. And go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I just want to throw out there, and I do apologize. We have a real good friend of mine on the line, and his name's Baltimore Galvan Jr. from Texas, and he's actually one of our speakers coming up. And I wanted to welcome him on here. Baltimore, you're live with us right now. I do apologize for the long hold.
That's fine.
I wanted to ask you if you had anything you wanted to jump in there and either ask or throw in there to Kevin Woods.
Man, Kevin, those stories were just fantastic. I never heard these stories before. Can you let me know what year? What year did these murders occur?
In the early 70s. It was either 1970, 71, around then. And then the first murders was the family. And then I want to say 4 years later was the hunter.
Right. See, because for some reason, I don't know why, it's like something the year of 1975 always bothered me. Because that's when they actually saw the lizard man in 75, and there's a lot of other creatures that were seen in 1975, and even here in Beeville, Texas, we even had this creature that was actually here in 1975 that they actually called the Big Bird, and there was all these creatures that happened in 1975, and for some reason
you guys want to hear my theory about all this?
Sure. I would love to.
All right. We've put a lot together, okay? I've been investigating things with a few other people. I truly believe, and it's actually biblical, too. It is in the Bible with these Nephilim and all this, and if there's non-believers out there, that's fine. I don't judge or anything like that, and I'm not going to get into the religious stuff or anything, but I'll tell you right now, I truly believe there has been witnesses that have come forward that have been in the military, have been on the Dulce base, and that's the experimental base, and they mess around with DNA, and these creatures have been known for years. And years ago when they discovered, or supposedly, they come out and said, oh, yeah, we can clone a sheep, and we just figured out DNA, and blah, blah, blah. They knew more than that. They knew a lot more about DNA back then, and they always said it was impossible to combine human DNA with animal DNA. That's bullcrap. I'll tell you right now, there is experiments going on, and these military guys said straight out when they were there, they have never been so frightened in their lives to see what they've seen and what's being created. And I'm telling you right now, this is why the feds are covering it up, and this is why national forests are federal. Like I said, they're not being covered up to protect wildlife. And the best witness, I've heard about 500 witnesses, and I'll tell you right now, if anybody goes to the Oklahoma Dogman Bigfoot sightings on YouTube, listen to episode 28 and 29. It's a part 1 and part 2. This guy is the most legit guy, and when you hear his story, you will be blown away, and it backs up the theory about the government. Short thing about it is when he witnessed the Dogman with his friend that worked in the park, his friend said that he invited his friend to check this out. Some weird stuff was going on. Tell him what he saw. So he said, I think it's a vagrant, like a homeless person. But he was really talking about something else. But he thought his friend would think he was nuts. So they parked by the trash cans, and it was about 3, 4 o'clock, and it was a bunch of kids doing a piñata. And all of a sudden, his buddy that was invited sees this giant head stick out of the woods, a dog head, and it was standing upright. It was huge. It was about 7 feet tall, he said. And the thing kept getting excited every time the children hit the piñata. He was so afraid this thing was going after the children. Meanwhile, there was a black government vehicle, a car, sitting a ways away the whole time. This man said he took pictures of this thing, and they weren't blurry. This would have proved everything, he said. Out of nowhere, this Dogman thing, whatever you want to call it, got so excited, this black vehicle, SUV, comes spinning by them, and then the car with a woman in it. The guy had a dog with him, and the dog started foaming from the mouth, and he started whining. He's pretty sure this woman in the black car had a high-frequency thing that dogs can hear, and they were using it to scare off this thing before it went for the children. They were keeping an eye on it. Long story short, they asked for his phone. They watched him take the pictures. They turned around, took his card out of his phone, gave it back to him, and he noticed right there and then his card was gone. He freaked out on him. They laughed, the whole thing, blah, blah, blah. So the second part, well, during the first part of it, he tells the guy, the host, I'm going back there because I know they're watching this thing, and I'm going to get my card back. He did go back there, and he talked to these people for an hour, and that's part 2. And I'm not going to ruin everything for anybody. Listen to it. He's the best witness I've ever heard out of like 500 witnesses I've heard.
Wow.
What do you guys think?
Well, I got something to go along with sort of the cover-up thing, a story that I've heard.
Okay.
There was a police officer, I forget what state it was in, but he had an encounter with the Dogman, and in his testimony, the Dogman jumped on the hood of his patrol car and started kicking the shit out of the windshield and started busting the windshield, and the guy put it in reverse and took Alpha out of there.
Yep.
And he went back to the police station, and he turned it. He had the whole thing recorded on his dash cam, and he went in there and he said, "You know what? Look at this thing." And the thing was right there on video. And the police chief went and said, "We'll document this and everything." The guy said, "Okay, fine." He went back in the next day. Dash cam memory was wiped clean, and every damage to the bit of that car was gone because they did a body job overnight. Windshield was repaired and everything. And they're like, "What happened?" They're like, "What are you talking about?"
Of course. Exactly. And I believe it. I mean, this is a cop. I mean, I'll tell you right now, people think crazy people are calling up to all these channels and making these stories up. I know when somebody's lying. And a lot of these guys are really good. Like, some of these guys will talk to the people on the phone like 13 times to try to catch them in a lie, to make sure they're real. Because if you're lying, you're going to forget something you said. You know?
Right.
There's been a couple witnesses that I've heard on a few shows, and right away off the bat, I knew they were lying. I could tell, and I don't like saying that, but I could tell. But the majority of these people are not lying. These are normal people, and they're seeing these things, and I couldn't even imagine what I would do, how I would feel running into one of these things. I always wanted to see one, but I don't think I really do want to. You know what I mean? It's like they said these things. A lot of people have said these things look through your soul, like almost like one woman stated that she went to lift up her camera to take a picture, and the thing looked at her like, and she almost knew like it was saying, "Don't do it." You know, almost like telepathy in a way. And she put the camera down, and the thing kind of looked at her, and it walked away. A lot of these times, these things kind of are not interested. They're curious, but then they walk away. But then, like you said, then there's other times there are attacks. And how many witnesses have you heard? They've been chased in the car going 50 miles an hour, and once they hit 60 to 65, that's when 1, 2, or 3 of them are chasing them. They finally stop.
Yeah.
This is how fast these things run.
I've had one encounter with the dog man, and then there was a report back in the 70s or the 80s in Farmer City, Illinois, the Farmer City werewolf, where these teens were camping out on the outskirts of Farmer City, Illinois, and they were hearing something running around them, and they turned around, and that thing is crouched down in between the tents, and they let out of there, and they went back the next day, and all the tents are just torn all to shit.
No shit.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
And then there's a report that I read that come out of LBL about these boys from Murray State University of Kentucky. They was there, and they was hearing the same thing, something creeping around their tent right there outside of Grand Rivers. And Grand Rivers is only 60 miles from my house.
Wow.
And they said that they got in the car and took off, and they looked in the rearview mirror, and there's the dog man on all fours running after their VW bus, and they're cranking it out at 45 mile an hour, and that thing's keeping pace with them, and then the thing grabbed a hold of the back end of that VW bus, and it held on, and it actually stopped the VW bus, and it picked the back end of it up.
Wow.
And I can believe that, because the way they describe these things is like in the movies. A lot of them describe them like the ones in the underworld. They're jacked. These things are huge. And once in a while you get a witness that said they saw a skinny, sickly-looking one. But the majority say these things are jacked from the shoulders, and they got a V shape. And the way they run, because I guess their paws are like half paws, half claws. Their paws extend to claws. This is how witnesses describe it. And the way they have to run, because they are upright also, they kind of run like on a sideways motion back and forth, I guess. A lot of witnesses have said that they run strange because of it, you know? They're almost like the shape of a hyena when they're running.
Wow.
Because their proportions, they have very long front arms. So I think that's what offsets them when they're running. And we've all heard about the witnesses saying when they're on all fours and then they hear a popping sound and then they're standing upright, just like almost like a snake popping their jaw out. It sounds like they're able to dislocate something in their hips to be able to stand upright.
Wow.
That's interesting.
You know, and there's also been like different ones that have been, you know, described. Like some look like total wolves with a mane, and others describe some looking like coyotes. So I think this is why my theory is they're messing with creating these things. Like you mentioned about, the reptilians, upright reptilians, and other things, and giant birds. They're messing with things they shouldn't be. And I think it's all military too. I think they're trying to, create killing machines or something. This is what I truly believe. I mean, why would they cover it up?
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. It's that it's even like in the Egyptian days, you have these half man and they have heads of jackals.
Yes.
And then you have the Minotaur. To me,
Yes.
back in the day, they messed with DNA way back in the day as well, and they could and they probably found a formula.
You're right.
So
listen, I'll tell you guys one thing out of the Bible. Okay, this is what happens. Every 1,000 years there's an end of times. Every 1,000 years has a Bible. Okay, so back in the day, the Egyptians and other civilizations went through 1,000 years of what we're going through, but in different ways. Their pyramids were connecting the world. Ours is the web. Now, I'm part Blackfoot Indian, and the Indians always said that one day in the future there will be a giant web covering the earth that will connect all people, and the giant awakening will happen. And this is what's going on. Because there's a lot more to this story, but I don't want to really say it on this show. I want to talk to Daniel out of respect.
Right.
Off the air to see if he wants it.
See, what got me here a few years ago, it was the movie The Men in Black, and about all these creatures that they were after, and so they always talked about encounters with the Men in Black after some event would happen. There was a story about I talked to this gentleman and up in Houston, and there's some river that goes down there. And there was a lady that actually saw Bigfoot eating a snake and reported to the authorities. And sure enough, the police officers didn't show up, but a person from the feds showed up. And told her, where is this snake at? That this Bigfoot was. It was more concerned about the snake than it was eating. And he showed her the snake and everything like that. Actually bagged up the snake. And took it with them and told her, not to tell anybody about actually what happened. And then I could just imagine, if somebody would actually got that snake and actually got DNA samples, from the
you took the words
animal.
right out of my mouth.
Yep. So it's
that's right.
Yeah. The thing is again is it's the unknown. And I know there's some stuff that people are I know that there's a lot of people that know exactly what we're saying, and that's why they're trying to, especially us researchers, try to put us down so much. Hey, this thing don't exist, and then all of a sudden you have the evidence, and he goes, well, that's not what you're looking at. It's totally something different. And and the thing, it's like for us is also too is we had. Like the chupacabra, for example. What got me so upset about the chupacabra was that they were actually saying that a chupacabra was nothing but a mangy coyote, and everybody
that ticked me off because you could tell it wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't because I have seen hundreds of those in the ranches that I worked on, and I'm going, no way. I've seen raccoons with the maids. I've seen foxes with the maids. Yes, they look strange, but they're going, okay, that's what it is, the chupacabra, but it's actually not. This animal
Coyotes
actually
do not have fangs coming out of their mouth. And I'll tell you right now, did you happen to notice on some of the pictures of the dead ones found that they have a bone structure behind their hind legs so they can sit up? These are not coyotes with mange.
See, what the thing is, what the chupacabra actually does, it actually injects something in back of their necks. Right behind
like
their,
do.
Well, more just like it has a tongue like a woodpecker, more or less. That it injects something in the back of their neck area, the back of their head area, like that. They'll immobilize the creature, immobilizes their victims, and then all of a sudden, it would actually make a hole right in back of the front leg where the heart's at. And
they do it so sneakily too.
Right, and then so there was actually a lady that actually got attacked by one, and she was coming out from her porch, and this creature attacked her, And what was wild about it is that she went to the hospital and everything, and the scar marks and the scratches that this animal did to her, the scratches was actually starting to heal very, very quickly, and that was very strange. And they never saw, and to this day, nobody talked about it. A man in Poteet, Texas, actually shot a chupacabra, and the feds actually went up there and picked up this animal, and told them if they reported in the American news, then he was going to get in trouble for it. And it was online online for a few years, and now it's no longer there anymore. And he actually went to and then they went to so he went to the Mexican news and reported to them exactly what happened to him. So he didn't report to the American news; he reported more to the Mexican news, and they were going, wow. And it was a little creature like 3 foot tall, and it was nothing like the coyote that people were actually seeing. It was totally different.
I mean, right when I saw it, I was like, coyote. I started laughing, And the funny thing about it is, you don't hear, it's very, very strange that, okay, in the past you heard of them, but you've never seen them. And then lately, now they're coming out and being seen.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot more.
See, and I wonder now what's going to happen now, because to me, I think the dogman has been the most recent creature, because the lizard man was way back in the day, and then your Bigfoot has always been here, and then you had your lizard man, and then you have your chupacabras, and then you had your mothmans, and then you had all these other creatures way back in the day. So I'm wondering, what's going to happen forward? What's
you
the
got
next
a good
creature
point
we're going to see? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like a few of the military guys, the whistleblowers, they told us straight up they actually saw humans in cages also. And so whatever they're doing down there, they basically said they've seen things, basically ungodly things that they never want to see again, and they couldn't believe what they were doing. So like you said, who knows what's going to come next? Why they release them, I don't know. I can't answer that question. I don't know. I don't understand what they're doing.
Yeah, real quick, I want to throw it out there for the listeners. If you want to call in, if you have a question for the guest, please feel free to call. The call-in number is area code 602-753-1963. Again, that is 602-753-1963. If you have a question, if you have anything you want to share or ask the guest or anybody on the panel, feel free. We have approximately around 30 minutes left to the show. So, and I do apologize for the interruption. I just want to make sure I threw that out there. So.
Hey, you're the host.
Yeah, but you're the guest. I didn't want to interrupt you while you were talking, but
well,
I try not to do that anyway.
Hey, anybody ever hear it? Now, I love this story. I've loved it. It was on TV too. I could rewatch it and re-listen to it. It's something about this one I love because the people are so legit. It was named. I forgot what they named it, but anyways, it was about the older couple that they were on their farm and they always had a cup of coffee at night and to spot out the deer. And then one night they saw a flash of light in the woods. So the guy's son was there at the time. So they went out checking it out, thinking it was like poachers or something like that. And they didn't find anything, and the light just kind of flickered out. So anyways, the next night, the guy, he could walk but not walk very well. And his wife didn't want the guns in the house. So when they moved in there, him and his son built a box and put guns in the shed. And it was probably about 50 feet away from the house. And so they're sitting there one night, and the guy had this very eerie feeling. This is the night after the lights in the woods. All of a sudden, he just felt this eerie feeling of trouble. And he grabbed his wife and said, "Hun, we got to get in. We got to come on." And he's like rushing her in. All of a sudden, they shined one of the flashlights over, and it was either, I forgot the number, so I'm sorry if I make this up. It was between 5 and 7 of these dogmen creatures coming up to them through the field, sneaking up on them.
Wow.
And when the guy pushed his wife in the door, he looked over, and one was on the right of the porch and the left of the porch, like they were setting them up as an ambush.
You're talking about the one thing that they showed on Paranormal Witness on the episode titled The Pack?
Yes. Yes.
Oh, my
it.
God.
Oh, I could, dude, I don't know what I'd do. And this poor guy's guns, right, and this guy had balls because the daughter was up sleeping, and he literally slipped out of the house to go try to get his guns, and while he was by his truck, his floodlights went on while some of the dogmen were up only a few feet from him. But when the lights hit him, they stopped. It was something about the spotlights that they wouldn't go in. So I don't think he ever made it into the shed. He actually came back into the house. He said, "Screw this," and went back into the house. They tried waking up the daughter to look out the window. She was on the second story, and she was half asleep. And the mother's like, "Oh, look at those things. Look at." And she's like, "Yeah, whatever." Typical teenager, and went back to sleep. They ended up upstairs in her room sleeping the rest of the night there and wait until morning. But these things, I don't know if one ended up on their roof or that could have been another sighting. But many witnesses have said that these things have been on their roof and have been have snuck in their house. One woman said she was in the living room with her kid, and she looked over, and there was one standing in the doorway in her house.
Wow.
And she grabbed her kid, and I don't know if she went, ran upstairs or out the front door to the car. I don't know. I forgot. But, I mean, I don't know what to make of it. And these flashing the lights and this and that, I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
But these are legit witnesses, too. And, how many people aren't coming forward? A lot more are nowadays because a lot more are opening up to this and believing and having an open mind. Years ago, these old-time farmers and everything, they were not going to say a word. That's how they are.
Well, now
people are going to think I'm crazy.
See, but now some of these old-timers are slowly starting to talk about it. I have some old people like in their 60s and their 70s and their 80s that are now slowly started talking about it when they were actually coon hunting down the creeks, and this stuff would happen to them. And
did you
now
hear about? I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
Did you hear about one of the old timers? It was actually on a show too. Zach, you maybe have heard of it, maybe Daniel. And like you said, it was an old timer. It was basically like a war against these things. I forgot what it was called, but these things were on his property for years, and they were killing his livestock, and he was ticked off, and he got friends together, and they were trying to hunt him down. And then there was another guy that they actually had a family of them living on his property that never bothered him. And when he went into the woods, he would see him, but they never bothered him. It was a family. He said it was a female. He actually named them.
Wow.
Yeah. So, you're right.
I know,
some of them are coming forward.
Right. And the thing is for me is that I'm actually going to be doing a program here called Living History here in Beeville, Texas, where we're actually going to have a scientist by the name of John Morley that's going to show up, and he's going to bring hand cast and footprint tracks and everything. And we're actually going to have a spot where, if anybody in the South Texas or the surrounding areas have actually had sightings or anything like that, please come forward. Or anybody that has a trail cam who has photos please bring them, because we would love to see them. And now, I would go down to HEBs and the Walmarts, and here comes these old timers, telling me stories. and just please don't tell anybody what I'm about to tell you, but this is what happened to us. And then
Right.
so now they're slowly. The thing is, again, they just don't want to be ridiculed of being of being crazy, and that's the very first thing that comes out of their mouths. Mr. Galvan,
right.
I'm not crazy. I'm not. I wasn't a drunk, or I wasn't doing any drugs.
Yep.
This is what happened to me.
Yep.
And that's
And
the
the
very
more
first
and more
thing
that
that comes
talk
out of their mouths.
about it on these YouTube channels and everything, and more people that see that, more people are coming out, and they get the guts to come out and
Right.
say, all right, listen, whatever. Some people may think I'm crazy, but there's hundreds and or thousands of encounters. These people are coming forward. You know what? I'm going to come forward.
Yeah. That's like me when, here locally, everywhere. I mean, I do it on social media. I put blogs, I put posts in non-Bigfoot related groups, non-cryptid groups. I do a lot of stuff. I haven't done it in a little while, but I go to a lot of these local hunting groups, these deer hunt groups, and just in Virginia alone, there's quite a few. And when I start posting information in all these different various groups outside of all the cryptid groups, and you know what? When people learn about you, say, hey, this is what you do. There's people out there that have seen something, and they so much want to share it with somebody that of course they're not going to share it with their own family. I mean, some of them have,
Right.
But that's the thing. They're afraid to come. They don't want to be, they don't want to get their reputation like, oh, Joe Smo. He's lost it. He went off the deep end. Now he's claiming he's seeing these weird creatures. So,
Exactly.
But I've had people come out the woodwork. Yeah, I mean, ever since I've gone public, I've started holding local seminars. I post stuff publicly. I leave my cards out. I've had people, till this day, share stories with me. I've investigated a woman and her daughter, driving up the mountain. They had, their sighting on the side of the road. I've actually gained, new friends by, people sharing stories, the road sightings and stuff, and so it's amazing. If you're not scared to put yourself out there, which I have no shame of it. I don't care what people think of me.
Me neither. Me neither.
And they see that you're serious, that you're not just some crackpot out there just trying to do whatever. That they'll feel comfortable enough with you. Well, they'll come out with my most recent one.
What's also good with your show and other shows is if they're uncomfortable, they can actually call up anonymous and tell their story and just get it off their chest. So shows like yours and other shows are very helpful to people, because I've heard people thank the host of the shows for creating these channels, just to be able to tell their story, because they kept it quiet all these years. And it really freaked them out. People have had nightmares for years because of this. How many hunters have you heard said, it just totally ruined my whole life about the woods and hunting, and I don't go hunting anymore or camping?
Well, I can't really. I think I might have heard one or two, but a majority of the reports that I have gotten were from hunters, and I was talking about this on my. I think I brought it up on my Facebook Live yesterday, that one of my most credible sources, or when I hear stories from hunters, because
they're the best.
Yeah, exactly. Anyone who question that
from a bear.
Yeah,
like somebody that doesn't know about animals or is not a hunter, and they're just like regular person. They're driving around and they say, "Oh, I saw Bigfoot," and say it was a bear. These hunters know what they see.
Yeah,
they know the woods. They've been in it for years. They know the tracks. They know the animals, and like you just said, they're the best witnesses.
Yeah, because one of the ones I got excited about, it was about a year ago. I heard this, and these group of guys, they're strictly bear hunters, and of course, if they're strictly bear hunters, they hunt their bears. They know their bears. Of course,
right.
What they call the Bigfoot standing next to a tree up on a hill, they know that was not a bear. So
right, exactly.
I was like, when I hear this, I was like, this is awesome. And on top of that, one of my reports come from he wasn't just a hunter, but this man's a police officer. Yeah, right here in Virginia. And man, I was like, tell me more. What else do you know? You know, I mean, because I'm not going to take him as telling a random story. A couple days ago, this one guy, he just bought 2 tickets to our event this summer, and this guy is also a hunter. He shared a whole report. He gave me permission to post it and share it publicly, and he's a local.
No kidding.
He lives right here in the county here, and here's this guy to give me this report, this story, and he's the vice president of this big company, so he has no shame in it. He's putting his reputation online. He's a vice president of some company, and he's also a hunter. He's got all that to lose, as far as reputation, but he's sharing the story with me. I find that more just as incredible, because of who he is.
Absolutely.
And what,
it's kind of sad too that like guys like us, if we tell the story, it's like a lot of people don't believe you. But when they hear it from a police officer, or somebody like higher up, then they tend to believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
oh yeah,
all right, you don't believe me, but you believe in the cop. Yeah, but quiet. If they come out and say something, it's true. They've seen it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're putting their job on the line, everything for saying it.
Yeah, look at 1976, the police officer that was featured on MASSACRE from Whitehall, New York. He was actually him and his wife were going to make an appearance at my event, but due to a scheduling conflict, they had to back off. But Brian Goslin is his name, and I had a good long talk with him on the phone, and but yeah, that was 1976. But he was a police officer. Him and his partner, they knew what they saw, so.
Yeah,
so, that's good stuff.
And even that one with the cop, he was giving a lady friend a ride home, and they were on that dark highway, and that thing ran across. It looked like a Bigfoot. Ran across, and he swerved around because he was like, "You just see that?" And she saw it too, and it was right. And it's actually on YouTube. You can watch the video. I'm surprised they actually allowed it out. The video. So you could see the thing running right across the highway about 3 steps.
Wow.
The cop actually whizzed around, got out of his car, and left the woman in the car alone, and he went in the woods a little bit. And he could see it down there was a ravine or something like that. And I guess she could see part of it, and like a shadow type of thing from the car. And you can see that on YouTube. You can just look it up. But there's been a lot of cover-ups, too. I heard one story, a bunch of guys, teenagers, whatever, they found prints, Bigfoot prints. And so that, they don't know anything. So they call up the rangers. So they get back to the prints, and the rangers are there wiping the footprints out with their boots. And the guys are like, "What are you doing?" And they were like, "Nothing. Now leave."
Yeah.
I've heard witnesses say that. They're just scrubbing it out. They don't want anybody knowing.
Well, it's funny. I know I hear a lot of these reports, where people have an interaction with, game wardens, forest rangers. I'll tell you what, I've gotten to know a couple of the forest rangers, the game wardens that patrol the areas in the national forest down here where I do a lot of my research. And a couple of them, you got a couple of regulars that ride through. There's different ones, but there's every so often you got the 2 that I know, that I've met. And one's she's probably in her mid to late 30s, and young female, and she's gotten to know me pretty well. First time I ever met her, I was during hunting season. Where I had my vehicle parked, it was considered illegally parked off the forest road because I was actually parked in. I was way off the road. I was actually parked in the woods where I was. And she was nice about it. Well, I introduced myself to her and everything, and she's ran into me like 3 or 4 different times after that. And, so every time she comes by, she's just doing her daily check. She's like, "Oh, doing the Bigfoot thing, huh?" I said, "Yep, it." Her name's Kate. So, she's cool about it. over in another area, older gentleman. He's one of those kind of I think he's kind of calmed down a little bit. He's always been very gung ho, you know. There was one time I was camping in my main research area with my daughter, and it's funny. He pulls into the camp spot where we're at, and I'm filling up my fuel tank for my Coleman fuel cook stove, and I just got done pouring, topping it off, and as soon as he pulls in, I'm stepping up, and I got the Coleman fuel can in my hand, and I put it in the back of my Blazer. As soon as he gets out, he's got his hand on his his hand on his gun, and he's shouting to me, "Did you just have a gun in your hand?" You know, because you can have guns on national forest during the hunting season, but as far as the sidearm, you got to have a permit. I looked at him. I said, "No, I didn't have no gun on my." I said, I pointed at the fuel can. But make a long story short, he's always. That ain't the first time I've encountered him. I've been with a buddy, Fred Canny, where it's funny. Fred Canny, for one of the first times me and him camped out together, we were in that very same spot, but we were up behind camp hiking on the hill. And Fred was telling me about this guy. He says, "Yeah, don't be surprised if we run into Ron Jackson." But sure enough, I said, "Fred, look down into the camp." I said, "Who's that?" He said, "Oh shit, that's him." Sure enough, they call him Action. They gave him a nickname, Action Jackson.
One of those guys, right?
Yeah. So we're down there. The only vehicle we had, Fred at that time. Fred had an old Jeep. We get down there, and the guy's looking for guns. That's what he's looking for, because Fred had a few loose 22 shells in his Jeep, and that's all he had. Guy couldn't do nothing with that. He said, "You don't have no guns in here, do you?" So, but yeah, he's always trying to find something wrong. But that was the first time I encountered him. But he's calmed down. He one of the times we had a camping expedition out there. I had a good group of people out there, and he pulls in. And I think because we had more people, he was actually being more humble, more calm.
Right.
Of course, my father was with us camping that time. My father, he loves to talk. So my father introduces himself, and here's Dad talking his way off. I think the guy couldn't get out there soon enough.
Kind of softened him up. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said, "Well, you guys enjoy your bigfooting and be safe." So, but some of these game boarders, they're cool about stuff like that. Once they get to know you, they don't mess with you. They don't try to, the most that they ever said to me is, "If you got trail cameras in the woods, don't leave them out there. Take them with you when you leave." So I said, I understand that. Shoot, I got trail cameras out in the woods on national forest right now. I've been known to leave them out there 3 months at a time, but the cameras I got out there now, they've been out there for 2 weeks already. So,
what I believe is the ranges that are new, I believe they're told nothing, so they know nothing unless they see something. Then they're told to shut up.
Yeah.
The higher up, that's when they know everything, and that's why I think like the newbies and everything are cool, and some might even tell you that they they are here. And they'll admit to it. But, a lot of them are told by the higher ups if they've seen something. "Hey, listen, I just seen this, da-da-da, shut up." And some have lost their jobs because they didn't shut up.
Yeah. Wow. Well, look at Salt Fork State Park. I went there for the first time last year. And it was our first day there. And we were at the lodge, the Salt Fork State Park Lodge. And shoot, a couple of us, we got into a conversation with one of the police officers or the ranger that works the area, and he had no problem sharing. He had no problem sharing with us so many different reports that he shared with us. Some of the reports he's investigated. He said, he didn't admit. Well, yeah, we do have Bigfoot here, but nah, he was cool about it. He said, yeah, I've taken several calls, Bigfoot related calls around here. But he's never claimed to see one, but he didn't claim, nor did he deny that there was a Bigfoot, in the area. But,
right. He's basically telling you, yeah, they're there, but he's not saying too much. And there's some cool people out there that, they don't care. They don't care
Yeah.
about the higher ups. They'll tell you as long as their name isn't out there and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which I have a lot of respect for people like that.
Oh yeah. So, just
You know,
curious.
I mean, there's been so many witness accounts. What's up?
Yeah. Well, now what part of Massachusetts are you in? Do you live in?
I'm in. You know, I was going to say something about that. I'm in Canton. It's about no traffic, about 20 minutes from Boston, but it's a small town. I was going to say, you know, I wish I was in another state because, you know, the gatherings that you guys have and everything, it doesn't happen in Mass, you know. And you just actually posted something in June that I'm planning on going to, you know, because I don't mind traveling. And but you know, the things, not much happens in Mass. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, now did you say Canton, Mass?
Yes. Yep.
Oh, okay. I do believe I heard of that because
it's around Randolph, Stoughton. It's probably about an hour from. It's about an hour from Worcester. It's
okay.
Brockton,
How far?
Stoughton, Canton.
How far would you say from New Bedford, Mass? Because last place I visited in Mass was New Bedford.
About 45 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because New Bedford was the last place I visited when I went up to Mass. Yeah, because talk about. I'll tell you what, New Bedford, that's a major Portuguese city up there.
Man,
every corner, every block you go to, there's a Portuguese
restaurant. People in New Bedford, but there's a lot of drugs I heard in New Bedford. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on in there.
Yeah, you're not lying.
It's you don't want to get caught walking down the street alone in New Bedford.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, there's
a lot.
There's some areas that don't look too bad, but down along the harbor there, you know, where the commercial boats dock up, that's like it looks like a slum down through there.
Yes, exactly, big time. You know, I wouldn't be caught dead there. No way.
Yeah.
You know, Canton's a nice, quiet town, but you see, my buddy, he lives in Uxbridge, and it's more farmland. Hey. Actually, his parents own the oldest house in Uxbridge.
Well, I know Uxbridge very well because
I love it there. I went to college with Joel, right? And we got back together a few years ago. And man, I miss Uxbridge. I mean, he's the type of guy. He'll go through the woods and he's picking watercress up and hunting for pheasant and cooking up a storm, and it's just so quiet there, and it's just nice. You know, these smaller towns around here are too congested.
Well, Uxbridge is pretty much kind of like neighbors to Douglas, where I'm from. You got Whitesville, Uxbridge.
Everybody backs each other up there. I love it.
Yeah.
There.
Actually, after my elementary school year, it's funny, in Douglas, Mass, where I went to school at in elementary, the way they didn't have a middle school like they do down here. The town I lived in, I was going to go straight from elementary and they call it junior high, but grades 6 through 12 is all in the high school up there. And my parents, along with some other friends of ours, we end up going to. There's a middle school in Uxbridge. We end up transferring there, carpooling to go to the middle school because my parents had a thing about us being blended in with high schoolers, you know, at that time.
Yes, there was a few towns like that. Yeah.
Yep. So
because the younger kids learn from the older kids.
So right before we moved to Virginia, that's where I was going to school at in Uxbridge, at one of the middle school in Uxbridge. So, but
no kidding, small world, huh?
Yeah. So
it's a great town. And, you know, I'm not saying nothing goes on in Mass. I know there's been sightings in West Mass because it's more like
the
farmland and stuff like that. But it's like every time something comes up, man, I gotta drive like 5 hours, 6 hours to go somewhere, you know. But I don't mind.
Oh yeah,
I don't mind the traveling. I mean, I drove through when I was going to Kentucky, the LBL. When I drove through Virginia, it's gorgeous there, gorgeous. Even Kentucky, I mean, it's just beautiful, and that's I wish I lived there. I really do. Yeah, I was never meant to be in Mass, you know.
Yeah, It's funny you say that because I know that's where I was born at. And like I said, I was about 11 years old when we moved to Virginia. But I guess from growing up down here, it grew on you. It's just like today when I was out and about today, I was driving on the interstate, coming from one town going to coming home, and I'm looking at all the open farmland we got down here, and all you got is the mountains. You got the mountains. We're surrounded by mountains, and there's nothing but farmland everywhere, and it just hit me. I said, man, this is like beautiful God country. God really blessed this country right here.
Exactly. You know what you see around my area? A Dunkin' Donuts
I can only
on
imagine.
every corner. Dude, Daniel, it's these small towns. Like I was originally from Marshfield, right? Moved at 10 years old to Randolph, which is only like 10 minutes from Canton, right? So all these towns were very slow-paced years ago, right? They're so congested with people now, and all the woods that we used to party in and everything are gone, and there's condos and apartment complexes, and you see deer walking around in somebody's front yard. Now, that's normal in your area. It was never normal here. We have coyotes now because there's nowhere to go.
They're being pushed out.
We got turkeys up the butt. You want free turkey? Come down here. They got turkeys running around in the roads, like 20 to 30 at a time. I mean, we've never seen animals in the road.
Wow.
It's totally changed. You would not like it here. I can't stand it here. No offense to Mass, but it's way too congested for me and way too fast-paced.
Well, that's what they did to Douglas. I mean, last time I remember seeing Douglas was a small town and very rural.
Yep.
We had a lot of woods because, I remember Dad used to take me out hunting when I was a little kid. And some of the land, I don't know if the land's still there, but where Dad used to do a lot of small game and pheasant hunting. And some of the farmland we used to go hunting on, where they used to release the pheasants. I'm sure this probably, who knows what's going on with that. But the street, the street I lived on, there was very few houses. Now there's all these big new subdivisions being built around there. It's not like what it used to be.
No.
Yeah.
And the funny part is, because everybody sticks together and they vote against anything coming in there. Because it's so historical down there. I mean, the houses, I love these old houses. And like I said, everybody sticks to the guns and they don't allow anything in there. I mean, you're lucky to even find a Dunks down there. Yeah. You might find one by the highway, but you're not going to find it in Uxbridge, And that's I like people like that. I like towns like that.
Are you familiar with?
I could count 4 Dunkin' Donuts in a quarter of a mile where I am right now.
Oh yeah. Oh, I know. Oh yeah, I know Dunkin' Donuts right there where my grandmother used to live. There was a Dunkin' Donuts right next to her. I know Mansfield, Mass, because we used to go to church in Mansfield, and which is nearby Foxborough, and then what was it? There was something I was gonna say. Oh man. Are you familiar with Lackey Dam? Have you ever heard of Lackey Dam?
Lackey Dam? No, I don't think so.
I want to say it's probably more Whitensville, because I know Uxbridge and Whitensville are pretty close. I could have sworn it was in Uxbridge. I may be mistaken. Maybe it's in Upton, because that's where my father's from, Upton, Mass. And
I know Upton.
Yeah, because you're probably pretty familiar with Framingham, Mass, too, don't you?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, the GM plant. Are you familiar with the General Motors plant they used to have in Framingham?
I am. Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's where Dad was working before it got shut down. He was laid off for a couple of years, but that's what brought him down here. He was able to transfer down here to Fredericksburg, Virginia. Yeah. So Dad was able to come down here. Yeah, he finished up his time. And, he was actually 49 years old when he retired. So because they have they have a 30-year pension. Yeah. He'll be 68 this year. So. So
good for him. Let him enjoy his life.
Oh yeah. Oh, he is.
Did you ever hear of the around here the Bridgewater Triangle?
Bridgewater Triangle. I'm not sure.
Oh, Daniel, look into it, okay? Anybody listening, look into it if you haven't heard about it. It extends to up to Rehoboth and this other town. It forms like a triangle. The stuff that goes on inside there is ridiculous. Bigfoot sightings, dogmen, apparitions. One guy actually claimed he stepped out in an opening and he marked the trail. So when he got out in the opening, he turned around, the trail was gone. He said almost like the woods turned on him.
Wow.
And he was lost for like 2-3 hours.
Oh my goodness.
And there's a lot of stuff. There's more like alien reports and other things. There's so much that goes on there. Weird, strange lights, everything. You got to look into it. It's called Bridgewater Triangle.
Okay. It's
Very
funny you say Bridgewater because we have, where I live, I live in a town called Mount Crawford, but there's a Bridgewater, Virginia, which is if I go about a mile and a half to where I'm at right now, I'll be in Bridgewater, Virginia. And Bridgewater, Virginia, of course, it's not a big town, but there's a big college there. But if you go beyond there, is that all the area, it borders the national forest over here, where I've actually got reports.
No kidding, huh?
Yeah, there's been a lot of reports where people are experiencing hearing weird things out there and, all kinds of crazy stuff. But
yeah, that's kind of strange. It's the same name, too, huh?
Yeah, it is. That's why I was like.
And what's funny too is how they talk about like dogmen or Bigfoot. Well, they talk a lot about dogmen and Bigfoot being in like marshy areas and swampy areas. Well, in the middle of the Bridgewater Triangle, it's all swamp.
Interesting. Now, what particular area is this?
And I'm going to admit, I have not got the balls yet to go there because I've heard so many witness accounts there. I'm like, man, I don't even know if I want to step in there with just one other friend. I don't know if I'd go with 10 guys.
Is this in the western part of Mass?
No. This is like Bridgewater is like 10 minutes from me, but it extends to Rehoboth and another town. So it's I forgot how many square miles it is, the triangle, but it goes through like 5 or 6 towns.
Oh, okay.
Like when you look it up, it'll show you the towns in the connected triangle. Yeah. Where all the happenings go on. Yeah. It's pretty freaky.
Interesting.
But it's something to look into. You'll be interested in it.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I'll definitely check that out. So, yeah.
Hey, Daniel.
Yeah, what's up?
I'm going to be jumping off here pretty soon.
All right. Well, actually, no, I just happened to look up. We actually have a minute left. So I tell you what, let me go ahead. So
I want to throw a little shout out right there real quick. I want to wish my grandfather, D. Sturrock, a happy birthday. He's turning 78 on Sunday.
Awesome.
Happy birthday.
Very cool.
It was good talking to you, too.
Oh, yeah. I know my brother's not listening because he'd care less about this show, and my brother just turned 36 today, so happy birthday to him, little brother. So
happy birthday, little bro.
My birthday's next month.
I gotta admit, Daniel, real quick, I've never been interviewed. I gotta admit, I was nervous, like, before I even called you. But, man, I had a great time.
Oh, absolutely. We're very laid back.
I really
I've been on several radio shows, and every time, I don't know why, I still get nervous sometimes, but
I could talk to anybody, but, ugh. And then I felt better, like 10 minutes in talking to you, I felt much better.
There's no reason to ever be nervous with us. We're very laid back people here, We don't judge.
Yeah,
we might question a lot of things, but a lot of times we like to sit back and listen, So,
right, yeah.
So,
hey,
real quick before we go off air.
Yeah,
thank you guys for tuning in tonight, and don't forget to subscribe to Squatch Zone Radio. And we're officially off air, and Look at that. I got my father calling me right now on my phone. So, but
Daniel,
let me go ahead and jump off
so
here,
much,
guys.
man.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for being on. You guys have a good night.
All right, I'll keep in touch.
Most definitely. Please do. All right, guys.
You have a good night, bro.
Good night, guys. This is Squatch on the Radio, and we're out.
Progressive presents Get Pumped. Inspiration to help you do insurance stuff.
Okay, time out. You're gonna let your budget be the boss of you? Take control with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Tell us what you want to pay for car insurance, and we'll help you find options that fit your budget. Here's some music to get you pumped. Da-dong, 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 dang, dang. I hear your budget laughing at you. Oh, wait, that's just those kids laughing at me. Ignore them! Da-dong, da-dong,
Progressive
da-dong.
Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.